The twin suns of the Taylor homeworld cast a purple glow over the Grand Plaza. Lieutenant Commander Jun Park walked behind his guides, trying not to stare at the strange buildings around him. This was his first mission as a human diplomat. Earth had only made contact with the Taylor 3 years ago. Now Jun was part of the team sent to discuss trade and borders. "And here is the center of our capital city," said Ben, the Taylor guide. His gray skin looked almost metallic in the strange light. "We call this the Plaza of Truth." Jun stopped suddenly. In the middle of the wide open space stood a tall crystal pillar that reached almost 30 feet high. It sparkled and caught the light of the suns. But what made Jun stare was not the pillar itself. It was the person chained to it. "Who is that?" Jun asked, pointing to the slender figure bound to the crystal. Ben waved his hand as if swatting away a fly. "A criminal. Not important to our talks." Jun stepped closer. The person was clearly female, but not Taylor. Where the Taylor were big and gray, she was small with skin that seemed to shine with colors that changed in the light. Her eyes were closed, her head hanging down. "What species is she?" Jun asked. "She's not Taylor." Ben made a sound like rocks being crushed. It took Jun a moment to realize it was a laugh. "She is Navi, a lesser species. They live on the third planet in this system." Ben moved his wide shoulders in what might have been a shrug. "They serve the Taylor now." "And her crime?" Jun kept his voice even, though he felt a strange anger building inside him. "She spoke things that should not be spoken. She claimed to have proof that Taylor are not supreme." Ben's voice grew cold. "We call this the Pillar of Shame. The worst criminals are chained here for all to see." The other members of the Earth team were moving ahead, talking about minerals and shipping routes. No one else seemed bothered by the prisoner in the plaza. "How long will she be there?" Jun asked. "Until she dies, or until she admits her lies. Most choose to die." Ben turned away. "Come. We have much to discuss about trade." Jun followed, but he looked back several times at the woman chained to the pillar. Something about her seemed almost familiar. That night, Jun could not sleep. His room in the Taylor guest house was comfortable enough, but his mind kept returning to the prisoner. He got up and looked out the window. The plaza was visible from here, lit by strange blue lights. The pillar glowed, and he could see the small figure still chained there. Before he could think better of it, Jun put on his uniform and slipped out of the building. The streets were empty. The Taylor slept during the middle hours of the night cycle. He walked quickly across the plaza, his heart beating fast. As he got closer to the pillar, he saw that the woman was awake. Her eyes opened as he approached. They were large and deep blue, almost human-like. She watched him without fear. "Hello," Jun said quietly. "I'm Lieutenant Commander Jun Park, from Earth." She studied him for a long moment. Then she spoke in a voice that was surprisingly strong. "I know of Earth, the new species that resists Taylor control." Her words were accented but clear. "You speak my language," Jun said, surprised. A small smile touched her lips. "I was a scientist. I studied many things, including your people." Jun looked around. There were no guards that he could see. "What is your name?" "Hannah," she replied. "Though the Taylor have taken even that from me. Here I am just criminal." "What did you do, Hannah?" "They said you spoke against them." Her eyes seemed to glow in the blue light. "I discovered truth. Truth they fear." She shifted slightly, the chains making a soft sound. "You look like them, you know." "Like who?" "Like my people. The Navi. We are not so different, you and I." Jun stepped closer. She was right. Despite her shimmering skin, her features were remarkably human-like. "That is what I discovered," Hannah continued. "The reason they chained me here. I found proof that humans and Navi share an ancestor, that we were once the same." Jun felt a chill run down his back. "That's impossible. We evolved on different planets, light years apart. Unless we were placed there, Hannah said, by someone who came before. A sound in the distance made June turn. I should go. The guards will be returning soon. Hannah nodded. Yes, it would be bad for you to be seen with me. I'll come back, June found himself saying. Tomorrow night. Why would you risk that for me? Hannah asked. June wasn't sure himself. Because on Earth, we don't chain people for asking questions or speaking truth. As he walked away, June knew he was making a dangerous choice. His mission was to build good relations with the Taylor. Getting involved with their prisoner could ruin everything. But there was something about Hannah, something about what she claimed to have discovered. Back in his room, June looked up information about the Na'vi and the data Earth had collected. There wasn't much. A subject species of the Taylor Empire, considered primitive by Taylor standards. But as he studied the few images available, he could see what Hannah meant. The similarity was striking. June made his decision. Tomorrow, he would find a way to talk to Hannah again. He needed to know more about her research, because if she was right, everything humans thought they knew about their place in the galaxy would change forever. 3 days passed before June could return to the pillar. The diplomatic meetings kept him busy, and the Taylor watched the Earth delegation closely. But June had managed to slip a small device from his kit, a neural translator that would let them speak more freely. The night was darker than before. One of the moons was hidden behind clouds. June moved carefully through the shadows, watching for guards. There were 2 of them now, patrolling the edges of the plaza. The Taylor must have noticed his first visit. He waited until the guards walked to the far side, then rushed to the pillar. Hannah lifted her head when she saw him. She looked weaker than before. You came back, she whispered. I said I would. June glanced at the chains holding her. They were made of something that looked like metal, but glowed with a faint inner light. I brought something that might help us talk. He showed her the small device. A neural link. Hannah's eyes widened. The Taylor forbid such technology for subject races. It's not theirs. It's Earth technology. June carefully placed the small disc on her temple. It adhered silently. He put its twin on his own head. Now we can speak mind to mind. The guards won't hear us. A moment passed. Then June felt the connection form. It wasn't like words exactly, more like feelings and images with meaning attached. Asterisk, can you understand me? Asterisk, Hannah's thoughts came through clearly. Asterisk, yes. This is amazing. Asterisk, June looked at her with new interest. Asterisk, how long have you been chained here? Asterisk. Asterisk, 87 days by your counting. Asterisk, images of thirst and pain flickered across the link. Asterisk, they give me just enough water to live. Asterisk. Asterisk, what did you discover that scared them so much? Asterisk, June asked. Hannah's thoughts organized into something like a lecture. Asterisk, he studied ancient ruins on my world. The Taylor say they built them, but the writing wasn't Taylor. I translated it. It spoke of those who came before, the cedars. Asterisk. Images flashed in June's mind. Stone tablets covered in strange symbols, mathematical equations, star maps. Asterisk. The cedars traveled the galaxy 100,000 years ago. They found worlds that could support life like theirs. They planted their own genetic material, creating new species that would evolve differently, but share a common base. Asterisk. June felt a chill. Asterisk, you're saying humans and Na'vi. Asterisk. Asterisk were both created by the cedars. Yes. Look at our eyes, our hands, the way we think. Different, but built on the same pattern. Asterisk. Hannah's thoughts were intense, burning with conviction. Asterisk, he found matching genetic markers in both our species. Markers that don't exist in Taylor DNA or any other species they control. Asterisk. Asterisk, why would this threaten them? Asterisk, June asked, though he was beginning to understand. Asterisk. The Taylor rule through division. They tell each conquered species they are alone, inferior by nature, meant to serve. But if humans and Na'vi share origins, asterisk, her thought trailed off. Asterisk, Then we're related. Family. In a way, asterisk June finished. Asterisk and not naturally inferior to anyone asterisk. Asterisk exactly. And there are others. At least 6 more species with the same markers. All currently under Taylor control asterisk. June looked around nervously. The guards were coming back around. Asterisk, where is your research now asterisk? Asterisk hidden. In ruins deep beneath our oldest city. Data crystals, the Taylor cannot read asterisk. The implication was clear. Her research could change the balance of power in this part of the galaxy. No wonder they wanted her silenced. Asterisk. They're going to kill you. Asterisk June thought. Asterisk yes. Soon. My public shame period ends in 7 days. Then comes execution asterisk. June made a decision that he knew might end his career, or worse. Asterisk scheme going to help you asterisk. Asterisk why? Asterisk genuine confusion came through the link. Asterisk you risk everything asterisk. Asterisk because what you've discovered matters. And because no one deserves this asterisk June looked at the chains. Asterisk go, you know how these work asterisk. Hana showed him images of the locking mechanism. Asterisk they're keyed to Taylor biology. Their unique electrical patterns in their skin activate the release asterisk. Asterisk, I might be able to simulate that asterisk June thought. Asterisky need to get some equipment from our ship asterisk. A warning feeling came from Hana. Asterisk the guards are too close. You must go asterisk. June nodded and quickly removed his translator. I'll be back, he whispered aloud. As he slipped away, he heard one of the guards approach the pillar. Talking to yourself, Navi trash, the guard said. They say that's the first sign of breaking. Back in his quarters, June couldn't sleep. He pulled out his tablet and began researching Taylor physiology from the data Earth had collected. Their bioelectric field was unique, but maybe not impossible to copy. A soft knock on his door made him jump. He quickly hid his tablet and opened the door. Minna Kim, the lead diplomat, stood there with a concerned expression. Commander Park, may I come in? June stepped aside. Minna entered and closed the door behind her. Is everything all right, ma'am? June asked. The Taylor approached me today. They say one of our team visited their criminal. Minna's eyes were hard. They have cameras in the plaza, June. June felt his stomach drop. I can explain. No need. I told them it was impossible, that all Earth personnel respect Taylor law. She leaned closer. Whatever you're doing, stop it now. This treaty is too important. That woman is being tortured for making a scientific discovery, June said. Minna sighed. It's not our place to judge their justice system. We're guests here. What if her discovery involves us? Humans, I mean. It doesn't matter. Our mission is clear. Minna moved to the door. This is your only warning, Commander. Stay away from the prisoner. After she left, June sat on his bed, mind racing. He had orders to follow, a career to protect. But he couldn't stop thinking about Hana, chained, and waiting for death, because she found a truth that mattered. That night, he sent a coded message to the Earth ship in orbit. He would need help if he was going to save her. And he would need to move quickly, before the Taylor, or his own people, could stop him. The Festival of Ascension arrived 3 days later. June watched from his window as Taylor citizens filled the streets. They carried glowing orbs and wore special metal headpieces that caught the light. Music boomed across the city, deep and rumbling like stones rolling down a mountain. Perfect timing, June whispered to himself. He opened the small case on his bed. Inside was a device he had received from the Earth ship yesterday. It had been smuggled down in a diplomatic package marked cultural gifts. The device looked simple, a metal band with buttons, but it contained advanced Earth technology. It could copy the bioelectric pattern of a Taylor, at least for a few seconds. Enough time to trick the chains, if Hannah's information was correct. June slipped the device into his pocket and put on his formal diplomatic uniform. Tonight, All the Earth representatives were invited to watch the festival parade. It was the best cover he could hope for. At the official viewing platform, Mina Kim gave him a sharp look. "Glad you could join us, Commander Park," she said. "I was beginning to think you might be elsewhere tonight." "I wouldn't miss this cultural event, ma'am," Jun replied with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. The parade was impressive. Thousands of tailor marched in perfect lines. Giant floating platforms carried important officials. Even the guards from the plaza were part of the ceremony, their usual posts empty. When the main group had passed, Jun leaned over to Mina. "I need to use the restroom." "I'll be right back." Her eyes narrowed. "The ceremony isn't over, Commander." "It's urgent, ma'am. Too much tailor tea." Before she could object, Jun slipped away from the platform and into the crowd. He moved quickly through side streets until he reached the now empty plaza. The pillar stood alone, glowing softly in the gathering darkness. Hannah lifted her head as he approached. "You came during the festival," she said weakly. "Smart. Can you walk if I free you?" Jun asked, pulling out the device. "Yes, they weaken us but keep us strong enough to feel the shame." Her eyes focused on the device. "Is that what will break the chains?" "I hope so." Jun turned it on. It hummed softly as it analyzed the lock system on the chains. A sudden shout from across the plaza made them both freeze. A lone guard, too drunk or too dedicated to join the festival, was pointing at them. "Hey, stop there," he called, stumbling forward. "We don't have much time," Jun said, pressing the device against the main lock. It beeped 3 times, then flashed green. The chains made a soft clicking sound. Nothing happened. "It's not working," Jun whispered, panic rising in his throat. "The secondary lock," Hannah said quickly. "On my back. There are 2 systems." Jun moved behind her and found another lock between her shoulder blades. He pressed the device against it. This time when it beeped, the chains fell away with a loud clang. Hannah stumbled forward, free for the first time in months. Jun caught her before she fell. "Stop right there." The guard was running toward them now, pulling out a weapon. "Can you run?" Jun asked. Hannah nodded, determination in her eyes. "Lead the way." They ran from the plaza as the guard fired his weapon. A bolt of energy hit the ground near their feet, sending up sparks. Jun pulled Hannah into a narrow alley between buildings. "Where are we going?" she asked as they ran. "The spaceport. I have a small shuttle waiting. If we can reach it, we can get to the Earth ship in orbit." They moved through dark streets, trying to stay away from the festival crowds. Twice they had to hide as tailor guards rushed past, alerted by now to the escape. The sounds of the festival covered most of the noise of the pursuit, but it wouldn't last much longer. At the edge of the spaceport, Jun stopped behind a cargo container. "The shuttle is just ahead, but there are guards at the entrance." Hannah looked around and pointed to a drainage pipe running under the fence. "There. It's small, but we might fit." The pipe was tight and dirty, but they squeezed through, emerging on the other side covered in dust, but undetected. They ran across the open landing area to a small Earth shuttle. "Authorization code," the shuttle's computer asked as they approached. "Park, Jun. Lieutenant Commander." "Code Echo 79 Delta," Jun said breathlessly. The door slid open. They climbed inside just as shouts erupted from the spaceport entrance. The guards had spotted them. "Strap in," Jun said, jumping into the pilot's seat. His hands flew over the controls, starting the engines. "This will be a rough takeoff." The shuttle lifted off as energy weapons fired from below. The whole craft shook as one bolt hit the rear section. "Damage report," Jun called out. "Minor damage to exterior plating." The computer responded. "Flight systems operational." They climbed higher, breaking through the clouds. The Taylor City grew smaller below them. Hannah looked out the window, her face reflecting the lights of the world she was leaving. "I never thought I would see the stars again," she said softly. As the atmosphere thinned and the blackness of space surrounded them. Hannah turned to June. She took his hands in hers, her touch surprisingly warm. "By the light of our shared stars, I bind my purpose to yours," she said, her voice solemn and clear. "This is the highest oath of my people, given only once in a lifetime." "What does it mean?" June asked. "It means our paths are joined now. What happens to one happens to both." Her eyes held his. "You have given me life. I give you my loyalty in return." The shuttle's communication system suddenly came alive with angry voices. Both Taylor officials and Earth diplomats were demanding explanations. "Commander Park, return to the surface immediately." It was Mina's voice, sharp with anger. "You have created an interstellar incident." June switched off the communication system. "They'll be angry for a while." "Will you be punished?" Hannah asked. "Probably," June said with a small smile. "But some things are worth it." The Earth ship appeared ahead of them, growing larger as they approached. June knew that once they docked, the real challenges would begin. He had broken rules, defied orders, and risked a diplomatic crisis. But looking at Hannah, now free and alive beside him, he couldn't bring himself to regret it. "Welcome to freedom," he said as the shuttle prepared to dock. The Earth ship Horizon moved away from the Taylor planet at top speed. Alarms had been blaring since June's shuttle docked. Captain Sung, a stern man with gray at his temples, was waiting when June and Hannah stepped through the airlock. "Commander Park," he said coldly, "you've broken about 15 regulations. The Taylor are demanding we return their prisoner immediately." June stood straight. "Sir, this is Hannah. She's a Na'vi scientist who was being punished for her research that concerns Earth directly." Captain Sung looked at Hannah. His expression softened slightly at the sight of her thin body and the marks left by the chains. "Take her to medical," he ordered. "You and I will talk in my office, Commander." An hour later, June sat across from Captain Sung, explaining everything he had learned. The captain listened without interrupting. "So you risked war with the Taylor because this alien woman claims humans and her people share ancestors?" Sung finally asked. "I believe her, sir, and I couldn't leave her to die for making a scientific discovery." Sung sighed. "Mina Kim is furious. The treaty negotiations have been suspended. Earth Command wants answers." "I'll accept whatever punishment they give me," Jun said. "But please, let Hannah show you her research first." The captain thought for a moment. "You have 24 hours to prove this was worth it. After that, I may have to consider returning her to maintain peace." The next morning, Hannah was stronger. The ship's doctor had treated her wounds and given her food and clean clothes. She sat in the ship's conference room with June, Captain Sung, and the ship's science officer, Dr. June. "Thank you for hearing me," Hannah said. "I know Commander Park took a great risk." "Show us what you have," Captain Sung said. Hannah placed a small crystal on the table. "This contains my research data. I kept it hidden in my mind while I was imprisoned." Dr. Jun connected the crystal to the ship's computer. At first, nothing happened. "It's encoded in Na'vi format," Hannah explained. She typed something on the keyboard, and suddenly images filled the screens around them. "These are DNA patterns," Dr. Jun said, leaning forward. "From various species." Hannah nodded. "This is Taylor DNA." She pointed to one pattern. "And this is Na'vi." She pointed to another. "And this is human, from samples I collected before the Taylor caught me." The three patterns were displayed side by side. Even to June's untrained eye, there was something striking about the comparison. "The Taylor pattern is completely different," Dr. Jun said, touching the screen. "But the Na'vi and human patterns," he looked at Hannah. "There are similarities." "Not just similarities," Hannah said. "Look here and here." She highlighted sections of both the human and Na'vi DNA. "These sequences are nearly identical. They serve no obvious biological function in either species. They're like a signature," Dr. Jun finished. like someone signed their work. Exactly, Hannah said, eyes bright. The cedars marked their creations. These same sequences appear in 6 other species I've studied, all currently under Taylor control. Captain Sung frowned. You're saying some ancient race created both humans and Na'vi? That's hard to believe. Not created, Hannah corrected. Guided. They took existing life forms on different planets and pushed their evolution in similar directions. We evolved separately, but from the same blueprint. Why would they do this? June asked. The ancient texts I found suggest they were preparing for something. They wanted life forms that could one day work together, communicate, understand each other easily. Hannah changed the display to show ancient stone tablets covered in strange symbols. They called it Seeding the Stars with Family. Dr. Jun was examining the DNA patterns closely. This is remarkable. If this is true, it changes everything we understand about human origins. It also explains why humans have been uniquely resistant to Taylor control methods. Hannah added, the Taylor used specific frequencies to influence brain activity in subject species, but your brains, like Na'vi brains, are resistant to these frequencies. The cedars built that protection into us. Captain Sung stood up and paced the room. The Taylor never mentioned any of this when we established relations. Of course not, Hannah said. Their empire is built on the idea that they are superior to all other species, that others are meant to serve them. She looked at June. When I published my initial findings, they arrested me the next day. They destroyed my lab and claimed I had falsified everything. A communication officer appeared at the door. Captain, we're receiving multiple messages from Earth Command. They want to speak with you immediately. Captain Sung nodded. Put them through to my office. He looked at Hannah. I need to report what we've learned. After the captain left, Dr. Jun continued examining Hannah's data. This could be the most important discovery in human history, he said, but also the most dangerous. Why dangerous? Jun asked. Because it threatens the Taylor Empire, Hannah explained. If all their subject species learn they're related, that they were meant to be allies, not servants, the Taylor lose control. Is that why you published your findings? June asked. To start a rebellion. Hannah shook her head. I published because it was truth. Scientists seek truth. She looked down at her hands. But yes, I hoped it would change things for my people. Captain Sung returned an hour later, his face grave. Earth Command is divided. Some want to return Hannah to avoid conflict with the Taylor. Others see the value in what she's discovered. He looked at June. They're sending a special diplomatic team to meet us. Until then, we're to remain in neutral space, away from Taylor territory. And me? June asked. Your fate depends on how this plays out, the captain said. If her information proves valuable enough, you might be a hero instead of a court-martialed officer. That night, June found Hannah in the ship's observation room, looking out at the stars. Do you think your people will come looking for you? He asked. The Na'vi? They can't. They have no ships the Taylor don't control. She turned to him. But now that I'm free, I can complete my work. I can share the truth with all the cedar species, even if it means war with the Taylor. Hannah was quiet for a moment. The Taylor rule through lies. Truth is the only weapon we need. She touched the window, as if reaching for the distant stars. Somewhere out there are worlds full of our cousins, living as slaves because they don't know their own power. We have to tell them. June stood beside her, looking at the vast spread of stars. Whatever happens next, I don't regret freeing you. By the light of our shared stars, Hannah said softly, repeating her oath. Our paths are joined now. 6 months had passed since June freed Hannah from the pillar of shame. Today, she stood tall before the United Nations Earth Council in New Seoul. The Grand Hall was filled with representatives from every Earth nation. Screens around the room showed millions watching the broadcast worldwide. June sat in the front row. He still wore his uniform, though his status remained uncertain. The investigation into his actions had been put on hold when Hannah's research proved too important to ignore. "People of Earth," Hannah began, her voice steady. "6 months ago, I was chained to a pillar, waiting to die for speaking truth. Today, I stand before you as proof that truth cannot be silenced." The hall was silent as she activated a holographic display. It showed DNA patterns spinning in the air above her. "These are the genetic markers that connect humans and Na'vi. The same markers appear in 6 other species across this sector of the galaxy. All were seeded by the same ancient race. All were meant to work together." She paused. "And all except humans are currently controlled by the Taylor Empire." Whispers filled the room. The Earth President, a woman named Park, leaned forward. "Your evidence has been examined by our top scientists," President Park said. "They confirm your findings. The question now is, what should Earth do with this information?" Hannah's eyes found June's before she answered. "We must share it. Already, word has spread among the subject worlds. Since my escape, 3 Na'vi science teams have confirmed my work. The Lumari, another seeded species, have begun peaceful protests against Taylor rule." The display changed to show images from distant worlds, people with different colored skin and features, but all with a recognizable humanoid form, holding signs with symbols that translated to "family among stars" and "truth breaks chains." The Taylor maintained control by keeping subject species isolated, making each believe they are alone and inferior, Hannah continued. "But they cannot stop the truth now. It spreads from world to world." "And the Taylor response?" asked a counselor from Africa. "They deny everything. They have increased their military presence on subject worlds. But they are outnumbered." Hannah's voice grew stronger. "For every Taylor, there are 100 seeded beings. Their power has always depended on our belief in their superiority." President Park stood. "The Taylor ambassador demands we return you to their custody. They call you a criminal and a liar." "Of course they do," Hannah said calmly. "Would you expect the masters to admit they are not born to rule?" A murmur ran through the room. June watched many of the counselors nod in agreement. "The Taylor have threatened to cut all ties with Earth if we grant you asylum," President Park continued. "They make the same threat to anyone who questions them," Hannah replied. "But ask yourselves, who needs whom more? The Taylor need the resources of their subject worlds. They need workers and soldiers. What do the subject worlds need from the Taylor?" The question hung in the air. Finally, President Park spoke again. "The Council will vote now on Resolution 7293 to recognize Hannah of Na'vi as a political refugee, to acknowledge the genetic connection between humans and the seeded species, and to establish formal relations with representatives of these species independent of Taylor authority." The vote took less than 5 minutes. It was nearly unanimous. As the council adjourned, Jun made his way to Hannah. "That was amazing," he said. "You've changed everything." "We changed everything," she corrected him. "Without you, I would still be chained to that pillar." Captain Sung approached them, looking more relaxed than June had ever seen him. "Commander Park, good news. The investigation into your actions has been closed. You've been promoted to captain." "What?" Jun couldn't hide his surprise. "Earth Command feels your initiative in freeing Hannah was exactly what was needed." Sung handed him an official document. "You'll be given command of the Horizon. Its new mission is to establish contact with other seeded species." "And me?" Hannah asked. "What is my place in this new alliance?" President Park had overheard the question as she approached. "The Council has named you the first ambassador of the Stellar Kinship Alliance. We need someone who understands both sides." "Stellar Kinship Alliance," Hannah repeated. "I like that name." The next year passed in a blur of activity. The Horizon, now under June's command, visited 3 worlds of seeded species. On each planet, they found people eager to learn about their cosmic relatives. The Taylor attempted to block these meetings but found their authority slipping. On the Na'vi homeworld, A peaceful uprising had already succeeded in establishing an independent government. The Taylor, facing similar movements on multiple worlds, were forced to begin negotiations. 1 year to the day after Hannah's speech to the Earth Council, June and Hannah returned to the Taylor capital. This time, they came as official representatives of the Stellar Kinship Alliance. The plaza where the Pillar of Shame once stood had been transformed. In its place was a new monument, a circle of 7 pillars, each representing one of the known seeded species. Taylor officials greeted them with formal bows. Their empire was not destroyed, but it was changed. No longer rulers, they were now just one voice among many in the sector. "Did you ever imagine this when you freed me?" Hannah asked as they stood looking at the new monument. "Never," June admitted. "I just knew I couldn't leave you there." A group of children ran past them, Navy, Lumari, and even a few Taylor, playing together. They were the first generation that would grow up knowing the truth. "What does the inscription say?" June asked, looking at the symbols carved into the base of the monument. Hannah smiled and translated, "Truth cannot remain chained, and neither can those who share the same stars." She reached for his hand, and he took it. Around them, representatives from 7 worlds talked and laughed together. The Taylor Empire was becoming something new, a true alliance of equals. "By the light of our shared stars," Hannah said softly, "we have found our family." June squeezed her hand. The oath she had made when he freed her had become the motto of their new alliance. One simple truth had changed the fate of worlds, and it had all begun with a prisoner chained to a pillar and a human who couldn't walk away. "Where do we go next?" June asked, looking up at the sky where the stars would soon be visible. "There are more of us out there," Hannah said. "More seeded worlds beyond Taylor space. The Seeders created us to find each other." She smiled at him. "Let's go find the rest of our family."